All right, folks, we are live. And I got a quick question for everyone watching before we roll the intro. If you could instantly eliminate one revenue leak inside of your park today, where would it be? Would it be in food and beverage, ticketing and upsells, maybe underutilized space? I want you to drop that in the comments because I'm curious what you're seeing on the ground. Let's roll the intro. All right, welcome back to Live with Sondra. Before we bring in today's guest, I want to thank our sponsor, Gatemaster Technology. And today is a special day. We're officially introducing G6. G6 is the next evolution of Gatemaster's ecosystem designed specifically for attractions and water parks that want to eliminate revenue leaks, unifying the guest data and empowering operators with real-time operational intelligence across ticketing, food and beverage, cabanas, access control, dynamic pricing, and space monetization. Because revenue isn't accidental, revenue is engineered. Water parks that win don't just sell tickets, they design revenue architecture from concept to launch. And if you'd like to learn more about G6, visit Gatemaster Technology, gatemaster.com, or book a discovery call after today's show. Now, let's talk about our next guest. Today's session is titled Waterpark Wealth, Maximizing Revenue from Concept to Launch. I'm joined today by Ken Handler, and I've known Ken for almost 20 years. It's crazy to say, but he's the president of Global Management Amusement Professionals, also known as GMAP. Ken has consulted on over 100 water parks globally, driven millions to his clients' bottom line, and is known for park startups, revenue design, and successful turnaround strategies for distressed properties. So without further ado, let's welcome Ken to the show. Ken, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm excited. Has it been over 2 decades now?
Yeah, almost. Yeah, I was thinking about that actually when I was prepping for the show. I'm like, wait a second.
I think we've known you from the Wave days. So that's even further. Wow, that's crazy.
I know. I thought that I was thinking about that today. I'm like, oh, how wild is that? Although, do we really want to announce that on the show? But thank you for being here. And yeah, I'm really excited about our conversation today. And I know you love this industry.
Oh yeah.
And not only what you're doing to help them thrive, but also, you know, all of the other ancillary things that you're doing that just support the industry that you've allowed me to be a part of and so many of us to be a part of. And, you know, I first want to thank you for that. And maybe before we get started, you want to tell the audience, if they don't know about the amazing event that you put on and the amazing things that you do to get us all together.
Well, I appreciate you allowing me to do that. I think the first thing is I want to thank all my friends. You know, it's very true. I'm a believer. You got two families. The one you go home to, you love, and you have dinner and everything. But the people that you're in the battles with, and when we go on open parks or when we go out and do all these projects, you're neck and neck with everybody for 12, 14-hour days. And you just can't help to get to know each other. And I've got to say, I've got some great friends. Some of my best friends are in this industry. I do it just because I love everybody that's in part of it. And if they truly get to know me, they understand I do it for that purpose. So long ago, now 16 years ago, Yeah, over 16 years. It was one of my best friends, Mark Moore, who runs Gulf Island, now Blue Bayou. Mark, we were in a fantasy football league, long story short. And he challenged me to say, hey, I bet you can't grow this thing. Well, 16 years later, we're now 120, no, 140, 150 followers, 90 plus teams in the league. And it just got out of control. And it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of work. But the big party everyone knows about is that every World Water Park Association, great organization, very fun. They do we host a party, and then we do a big poker tournament. And your group has been a part of it. And they did, to help us get it started and everything. And it was fun. It's a ton of fun. It's a lot of fun to watch people talk trash. It's a lot of fun to have, spoil your friends. And that's really what I want to do. And I want to spoil everybody. And we have a great time.
Yeah,
So it's a great party.
it is a great party, and it's one of the best times that I've had with you. I think New Orleans was a really great.
Yeah, that was a good one. Yeah,
that was a real good one.
Yeah, that was.
Well, if you don't mind me jumping into it, how
Please.
does your passion for creating experiences that make our guests want to return play into the consulting approach that you have in helping startups? Am I asking that? Sorry if I'm asking that weird, but I'm trying to think of how to ask that.
A little bit, I think. How about I answer? Like, it's kind of what we just said a little bit. Is
Sure.
You have to love what you do.
Sure.
And I think that's what got me passionate. I've been doing this over 3+ decades, and one of the things that caught my eye was, wow, my office is outdoors, and I get to do strategy indoors. And I was from line cook to lifeguard to you name it, and I'm a big, like everyone else, fan of theming, Disney, Universal, everybody when I grew up. I live in San Diego, and you can't help to go visit those sites. And what passioned me about doing what we're doing is just watching the people of not just I'm a big believer there's two customers. One is the one that comes to your door, and the other one, that's your teammate. And when you can make their day, when you can get them to smile and have a great time underneath everything that you do, it's absolutely great. And that's what the passion is. You can inspire yourself every day and find unique ways. Every day is a new day for you and what we do.
Yeah, 100%. Well, and I love that. I usually ask why people got into this industry, and I'm also Southern California native. It's hard to not love the attractions that we have there, and it's where so many of our families go to be together. And I know that that's something that's important to you as well, with your family. But
Right.
I love that answer. And when we look at like the biggest challenge maybe that you see in terms of operational challenges in water parks, especially in what they're facing right now that is limiting their revenue potential, what do
Right.
you see in your view to be that biggest operational challenge? I'm just jumping right in.
Yeah, no. And by the way, I appreciate trying to give me some of those questions ahead of time so I can think about it a little bit. But this one was a tough one. Every park, as much as they're very unique in their own ways, they're very similar. And one of the biggest things as I've grown in time is hospitality versus service.
Sure.
And a lot of people don't understand the difference. Now, you can go online and look at the different Instagrams of people trying to teach you, but how do you hit those hot buttons? Because if you can get hospitality, people will come back, absolutely come back, because then they become loyal. And hospitality is such a broad scale. It's not just the service, it's the quality of the food, it's the quality of the cabana, the quality of the rides. It's all those aspects, even quality of retail. And when you walk up, the joke it's not a joke, is when I teach and mentor people, it's what's their first impression. And when they come up and they drive up your driveway or see you from a distance, what are they looking at? What is screaming to them saying, I'm fun? And some great architects, would say, you want to get them through the doors, you want to make them excited, and what's the storyline behind it? And a lot of people don't do that. A lot of municipalities just put the brick walls up, but that's what they can afford. I think the other part is, I want to make sure you didn't miss my notes, but don't have a real strong idea what to when they build the parks or when they get into rehabbing, they focus on one section. They have to have a bigger picture, a bigger vision. And then how am I going to grow it? Just don't stop there. You got to be able to see what's down the line, what's coming at, and you have to plan accordingly. And a lot of people don't have that vision. And then the talent, you got to make sure. A lot of people say, hey, I need a computer person. We now hire, and I think we're going to get into this a little bit later, so I don't want to totally use that in the answer, but is look for the people that are positive energy. And I mean it, and those are the kind of things that will put you over the top. It'll make your job much easier in a good way.
I 100% agree. We have a saying over here, hire for attitude. I can teach anybody anything, but I can't teach you to have a good attitude, right?
Big
That's
time.
just part of who you are. And I love that. And I do agree. Like one of the things that, and one of the things that sometimes I'm sad to hear in our industry is like, there's no good people. And it's like, no, there's tons of good people.
Yeah, no, that's not true.
You just have to create the space for them, right? The good people want to work in a great space, right?
Yeah, it's funny, and I'm going to use just for fun because you got a flashing football thing. Sam Donaldson went to go play for the Seattle Seahawks, and they won. I think it's a matter of fitting the right person in the right team, or you've heard the term, the right people on the right bus and pushing them forward. There are some phenomenal operators here that just need to get matched up with the right team.
Yeah.
And if you're willing to put the effort in, you'll see a lot of success. And there's a lot of us out there. I mean, there really are. I mean, I know that there's some big giants buying parks, and I know there's some people are just getting out of the gate. And this is that key time that's going on. And I think it really just finding the right people. There's talent. There's real talent out there. And I got to give credit to this new generation coming up. I kind of feel some of these young people out there, and I can give you a list of names I work with, definitely have the skill set to be the future of our industry, without a doubt. I'm one of those positive believers. I see it, and I'm very excited for them.
Yeah, me too. And that's one of the things I love the most about this industry. And I know, at least for my story, this was my moonshot, right?
Yeah.
I started as an operator of a laser
Right.
tag facility, and quit school, and everybody was bummed out that I was a college dropout that wanted to play laser tag, and it turned into this amazing career in this amazing industry. And I don't think I'm alone in sharing those kind of stories. In fact, a lot of the guests that I have here have very similar stories of how they got into this industry. But what that tells me is that opportunity is available to so many of these young people. Yeah. And I'm excited about that too.
Can I flip that statement that you made?
Sure.
You're not a college dropout at all. I mean, make sure that's very clear. I think people have different ways of learning. Absolutely. There are some brilliant people there, and I think you're one of them, Sondra, that you didn't need college to be successful. You learned that you can do it on your own, and look what you created. I mean, there's a lot of people that work for me that, some haven't even graduated high school, but they're phenomenal. And they were smart enough to know to dive in the books beyond and then learn their skill, putting hands on, or nowadays learning from, internet. So college is to a point, and I've got my girls in college, and I have 3 daughters, and they're going through college, but I got to tell you, they're smarter than what they're learning. And it makes me very excited that we have all these gifts, from the internet to videos to everything, your show. I mean, it teaches people how to be better. And hopefully, and here's the biggest thing, and I think this goes to what you did, is the motivation piece, right? It's, do you have the motivation to be successful? Do you have the I got to keep it clean here, but you got to be able to do this, and you got to be able to dig deep, and you got to go. So if you're going to start your company, or if you're going to make your water park, whether it's whatever operations or revenue, you've got to put the work in, and don't look at the person next to you. It's you who have to own it.
100%. And I think that's such great advice for anybody who is starting out, right? Yeah. And I appreciate that. It's funny because Google just, I think in December, announced that they were no longer going to require degrees for employees.
Yeah.
Because just to your point, like, if people can learn, then they have the ability, you just have to be a forever learner. And that's actually one of the reasons I love this show. I feel like the luckiest person ever that I get to pick the brains of people like you, right? Who are doing these amazing things and boots on the ground and making it happen for our industry and the amazing spaces that we're creating for people and
Yeah,
families.
absolutely. If you want to learn, you'll find a way.
Yes,
Absolutely.
100%. Well, so I know that GMAP has designed food and beverage concepts for
Yep.
major parks. That's actually how I met you. I think it was like we were working at a park. We were both working on the same park, and I think they had quit allowing outside food. And you would come in and say, "Well, said if we're going to do this, we've got to elevate the food in this park." And this was a park that was close to my home, so I was bringing my kids there. And I have to say, I had never had, I think it was a salmon sandwich that you brought in, and I'd never had something like that at a park before. And that just made a world of a difference for me as a mom who was taking my kids there all the time, but also it taught me something about elevating the experience for our guests. So, what do you believe the most overlooked strategy for maximizing high margin food and beverage revenue uh, is across an entire property?
Well, so a couple of things. I got to give credit. I was working for another company, and that another company did that product, so it's only fair to give them credit. And so I will give Mike that credit. He's the founder of the salmon. With that being said, and I'm one of those people who I like to think I'm honest and upfront, so to give him credit on that one. But with that being said, going into what you have to have a really great strategy right away out of the gate. And as you go into design mode, and there's some phenomenal designers in the industry out there, and you have to place those components in place properly to have the best success when you open your park. Now, if you are a park that's needing to rehab, and we get called for rescuing parks a lot every year, and we're rescuing multiple parks every year, and whether it's a specific category or something, there has to be a strategy behind it and proper planning. I'm sure you heard this, proper planning prevents poor performance. And with that being said, with food or anything else, you've got to put the time in, put the homework in it, and listen to your customer, what they're telling you. Also, you've got to look at the challenges, whether it's wait times, quality food, as you said, presentation. Remember, the Food Network came around and it elevated everybody, even our food. And we have to match those kind of components. When people thought, hey, it's just food, we're now an attraction. And we have I wish I could list everybody that I know on our water park committee and our food committees and all that. Man, there's some talented people. And the showcasing the food should be one of the top priorities out there. With that being said, in the design piece, is what we take for granted, not as much anymore, as technology, without a doubt. I know when I get into parks, they're only use maybe 20% of their technology to the maximization. I can tell you right now, when people want to go into point of sales and ask for reports from them, they don't know how to do it, or they don't know how to track their sales, or they don't know how to get certain details. It's because they're not paying attention. All they're doing is then survival mode day to day, and that's where they tend to fail.
Yeah, 100%.
We know how to forecast and get into that.
Well, I think it's important. 100%. I'm in alignment with you with regards to knowing your numbers, right?
Yeah.
But there's so many. I mean, listen, when I used to go into parks in the old days, when we would go into parks and, before the internet is what it is today, I got sent to all the parks and installed the software on a floppy disk, right?
Yeah.
And I would sit with those parks for weeks on end. But I'll never forget how often I heard, well, we think or we feel like it's this. And then after we collected data over a period of time, those feelings actually weren't right.
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 Well,
and
I totally agree.
you need the numbers. You need the numbers. But that kind of makes sense, with regards to what you're doing as a turnaround expert. What do you think the fastest and highest impact operational change that you implement and drive immediately into these distressed properties to help them with that bottom line?
So, great question. And you made me think about it, because Sondra does everyone a favor when she sends the questions out, so you have to think about it. It took me a little bit to think about this. There isn't, as much as I wish there was a magic wand, you really have to dive into each park and look at the details. And a lot of times it's what they don't know, right? They don't know how to run food and beverage right, or they don't know how to run retail. They don't know how to. I mean, I'm working with a couple parks now. They just don't understand online sales,
Yeah.
and those kind of points are so key to really upping their opportunities. And then procedurals, SOPs, getting the staff trained to the proper level. Because if your general manager doesn't have a clue, how does a concession manager know what to do properly? So a lot of that piece is breaking down the nuts and bolts and kind of going from line item to line item. And I would probably just say it's, and I kind of relates. I think the next question is they don't have all the facts in front of them, and they don't understand their financials completely. They just don't understand with some of the things. Some people don't even know what a per cap is. So when I get into it, it's kind of like we talked about earlier, is we have to share the information and grow them and get them just their knowledge at what I call the basic level, the 100 classes, and then the 200 classes, and then the 300 classes.
Yeah. Well, I think what I'm hearing from you over and over again, and I believe this to be true too, is you just have to continue to grow.
Oh yeah.
A person in this industry, because there's always the next thing, not only the next big thing that's going to help you grow the business, the revenue, and all of those things, but also just as a professional. And what does that look like? And you're right, with regards to if management doesn't know what they're supposed to be doing, how can they trickle that down to a staff member on the front lines? And, we know statistically that a majority of the reason that good people leave businesses is because they're not confident in the work that they're doing.
So let me add to that. You're talking training and development, right? So his name is Savannah Bananas. Give him the world of credit. He's a phenomenal job, and which he also has trained. He doesn't call it training. He calls it whatever word he wants to call it, development. Those are the things that people have to redefine, and it's not done each year. You have to reevaluate. We are redefining our training every year to make sure it's fresh at all levels, and that's important. It's not just your frontline or cast members. It's if you invest more time in your management, in your leads, your middle management, your supervision, then they become stronger. That means your front line becomes stronger, and then that means the ball's rolling that much faster. So if we invest the right time into everybody, it's incredible. Lifeguarding is a great example. When we get into that, whether you're NASCO, Ellis, Starguard, Red Cross, they have to do a minimum of 40 hours of training on average just to get through the door. And then they spend another 2 days on the stand learning how to do rotations or rescue people. Why? And they're there for safety. But if we spent that amount of time just training our revenue component people, talk about the opportunity from going from service-based to hospitality-based. And they will succeed, and you will see the revenue fold multiple times. And it's a simple scenario of, what's it worth to you? If you train them better, they're going to do way better.
Yeah. Well, because at the end of the day, sales, in my opinion, is service and hospitality. If you know that you've got something that this guest needs or wants, or is going to make their visit better, you almost have an ethical obligation to make sure that they get that, right? Like, and if your people don't know, they don't know. So they're not able to be in that kind of service.
Well, look, everyone's into the loyalty programs now, and those are hot. And I know all the point of sales people are doing it. And I'll even give a credit to Beacon, a new product a few years ago that's coming in on the parking lot side. Great ideas. Love them. You got to make sure you got to weigh the options of what's best for you, but loyalty programs are hot now. So again, it's just what's out there. Keep searching, keep learning.
Right. Well, so how can park leaders measure and maximize operational efficiency without sacrificing a memorable guest experience? I mean, you just mentioned a tool that they can use, but like we're saying, if sales is service, hospitality in some ways, because it's important. I mean, listen, business doesn't exist without us making money, right?
Oh, yeah.
I think we can be real like that on this show, right? Like, why are we doing
I
Yeah.
say this in training. It's good to be greedy. It's
Yeah.
okay. You're there to make money, but don't lose your
Right.
business, right?
Right.
So, and I know this is now recorded, so everyone's going to hold it against me. With that being said, look, you need to know your statistics. You need to know your numbers. We talked about it earlier. You need to know your highs and lows, your peaks and valleys, right? And then you also know what's moving in the retail store, what's popular, what's popular in food and beverage operations. You know, what's the right drink at the bar, to instantaneously building that information. There's a great two people out of OC Waterpark out in New Jersey. Great people. Bob is a phenomenal IT guy, super brain. I mean, guy's impressive. And he uses Power BI, and everyone should be using Power BI to get all the reports from all the systems they use so you can see it instantaneously. Now, using that information allows you to be more effective with your customer and what times they do and what they use it for. And then from there on the other side, it's, you know, what's moving and where do I need to put my more focus to either make more money or pull people back so I don't lose as much money, right? So those are the kind of things that we need to pay attention to make sure the park runs successfully, but also where I need to put more efforts in for satisfaction of customers, because it maybe I just need another cashier, and suddenly that whole other section moves much better.
Yeah. And you don't know if you don't have the information to tell you that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Look, I'll be the first one to tell everyone here. I use Sondra's program. I use Gate Master in one of my parks, and we look at it every hour, and we pull data every hour, and we want to know how many people are in the park, what's selling, what's moving. Did we do the right move? Is the right menu going? What's hot in the retail store? How's our parking lot going? How many spaces do we have? All those kind of components are there, and then we also analyze it, not just during the season, but we analyze it during the off season and say, okay, how do we re-strategize to make sure we maximize it? And we go back and look at all the data as deep as we can go.
Yeah. And I don't know if we've done this with you, but we have with a few parks. We have a new like AI machine learning tool that allows us to put that data in there. And
Yep.
what I think, just to your point, because sometimes when you look at the data, you can clearly see like, and especially if you compare it to industry statistics, you could say, okay, we're not selling enough in food, right? Yeah. The AI can analyze the data so much. I mean, this is why our doctors use it to diagnose. I don't know, last time I went to the doctor basically said, are you okay if I use AI? It's faster at reading your results than I am, right? Well, it's the same thing with reports.
Yeah.
If we can trust the data that we have. But what I think is really interesting is, you know, one, you mentioned Power BI. You're right. You need all the data from all the places.
Right.
And two, I think it's also important to understand benchmarks that data is giving you, like you said. So if you're looking at my data versus the industry averages, and nobody wants to be average, we want to be better than average too, right? But if we're comparing it against industry averages, then what we see sometimes is there's room for improvement, and it's right there.
Yeah.
It's that simple. Yeah. So appreciate you mentioning that. So given
I think it goes with the layers. Sorry, I totally interrupted, but it goes with the layers, because you got to take that stat over what attendance is, and you got to put your efforts are, and then you look at the different layers. And if you don't look at the layers that you're supposed to be helping everything else, there's a domino effect. And a lot of people don't. That's what I'm telling you. You got to do the homework. You just got to put it together. So
you got to do it. No, please. This is gold. Well, so my next is, and this is, I think, one of the last questions we have, because you've just given us so much information, but it's a strong one. And given your deep commitment to mentoring new professionals, you know, what is the most critical, non-negotiable lesson you want to impart on the future leaders in this industry?
So there's so many. Everyone has. You're asking for one, and there's probably 50.
You can give us a few.
Okay, so what I would tell you is, you got to be successful in partnering with me or even working for me on my team. You got to have a positive attitude. You got to love what you do. Two, you've got to have the drive, and you've got to do what I think is lacking in some people, and I'm reteaching is the follow through. There's people who are talkers, say they can do it, and they just don't follow through. And you've got to follow through with it. And the biggest thing is communicate when it's, you can communicate when it's good, but don't be afraid to have those hard communications. And I think that kind of goes with don't be afraid of the hard stuff. You've got to take it on. You may be a phenomenal lifeguard or a aquatics person, but to be a really good general manager and you want to be that, you got to stop being a lifeguard and go be a food and beverage manager or a food and beverage manager. You got to go learn the maintenance. You can't just think it because I'm a good food and beverage manager, I'm going to be the next general manager or lifeguard. I look for a well-balanced, educated, someone who really understands all aspects. Now, they don't need to be the expert by heart, but they definitely need to have a good, solid understanding. And I would tell everyone, go follow through, have a great attitude about it, and go from there. I mean, that's what we try to do for everybody.
Yeah. And I think just kind of to your point, if I can add to that,
Please.
I had Dawn from Island H2O in Orlando
Yeah,
on the show a few weeks back. And she's on the show talking about these park takeovers, right? Which are
yep.
disastrous. They're not as cool as they sound, right?
They're hard work. I've been a part of
Yeah,
it.
they're hard work and they're devastating sometimes. And so, to your point, like if you want to be a GM and you want to be in management of these parks, you do have to have a certain level of resiliency and able to move with the hand that's being dealt to you, because I'm sure nobody wants a situation like that, right? But we have to deal with it. And so I really love that, because at the end of the day, it is the attitude piece that makes you able to do that. Sometimes you gotta pick yourself back up, right? You get knocked
Yeah.
down.
Look, I
Sometimes the
can say
weather's bad.
yeah, look, I've had like you, and you have a win. You got a great show. You got a great business. You're succeeding. It's in your intro. You guys got to look at your intro, pay attention to everything that's going on. And there are a lot of things there that I would say you are what you make yourself. Don't look at others to make you. You've got to dig down and get it done, right? And our door, my office, the people I work, my door is always open. You just give us a call, and I'll answer the phone. Everyone knows enough that I'll pick up the phone and even have a fun conversation with you. And we believe that. And I learned this from a good friend of mine, and I owe him a phone call because I now give him credit because he did say, "Never shut the door. Always keep the door open." That was Pat Morandi up at Roaring Springs. Great guy, very knowledgeable, and I'm not afraid to call him.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, Ken, I really think this has been kind of a masterclass in revenue design, operational discipline, mentorship. And I think our audience watching, if they would like to get in touch with you, because you just said the door's open, right? And
Yeah,
I know after 20 years, I know that this is something that you are passionate about, helping people be better at what they do, and especially in these parks that we all love. If they want to get a hold of you, what's the best way to do that?
Cell phone, real quick, 760-583-0058, or email me at ken@amusementprofessionals.com. I know that Sondra knows how to get a hold of me. Just give me a call, shoot me a text, email me. I love having conversations. I love learning about your park and about you, and that's why I do what I do. And I appreciate you calling Masterclass. Look, I just enjoyed the conversation. It's
Yeah.
fun to share. I mean, if we really want to get in nth degree details, call me. We'll look at your drawings, or if you need help, some of you're about to open, you don't have a plan, or you do, you want your stuff double checked, give me a call. I'll take a look at it. I'm here to help. That's what we're about.
Yeah. Well, and I have to, before I let you go, I have to thank you. I've talked a lot about the pandemic on this show. I know nobody wants to say the P word anymore, but, I hope you know that it has always meant so much to me that during that year, you let me work with you on a park, and a time when, like, I maybe had two deals, right? For the year. I didn't,
Wow.
it was a scary time. And you made a world of a difference for us, but also, I didn't not take lightly that you entrusted us with that opportunity. And I appreciate you for that. And especially at a time like that, when so many of us were having a hard time. I mean, you're supporting parks through it, just like I was. So I know you know.
Oh yeah.
I think I should have a therapy degree now after that year.
Bill, there you go. Well, here's your internet hug. There you go. Internet hug. Thank you. That was very kind of you. There we go.
Well, thank you, Ken. I appreciate you being here, and we'll see you soon.
Absolutely. Thank you for letting me be on your show.
Of course, anytime. I'll see you soon.
Bye. Have a good one, everybody.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut him off there. The show that we just had, like I said, I do believe that was a masterclass for those of you looking to architect or transform or turn around your water park business. So, for everybody watching, whether you're building a new park, scaling an existing one, or turning around a distressed property, water park wealth isn't by luck. I know that we're heading into the year of the horse, so maybe if you're a horse. I think I'm a goat, so goats get along really well with horses. It could be a good year. This is strategy, it's design, and it's execution. And if you're evaluating how to strengthen your revenue, architecture, take a look at G6 from Gatemaster Technology. Again, thank you for making this show possible, making it so that we get to have guests like Ken who have just a wealth of knowledge and are willing to share that with you so that you can get better. And I really do also appreciate everyone who's watching this show. Your support means the world to me. Ken, thank you again for joining us today. And thank you to everyone watching live or watching on replay. If you're watching on replay, I'd love a hashtag replay so I know you were here. And of course, we'll be monitoring the chats if you have any questions that come up from the conversation that we had today. This is Live with Sondra, and we'll see you next time.